morning, everybody. Well, it's morning for me while I'm recording this. This may be afternoon or evening or whatever it is for you. But good morning, everybody. This is another bonus episode of the I'm No Expert podcast. My name is Aaron Peterson. Today we're sitting down with head of school of Immanuel Christian School, Miss Rachel Frecka. If you guys think back a couple weeks ago, I had the chance to interview Miss Laura Colangelo. She is the executive director of the Texas Private Schools Association, and she is pushing very hard for school choice here in the state of Texas, something the state of Texas does not yet have. A special session of Congress has taken place, and there's still various things in the works. But I wanted to sit down with our head of school, Miss Rachel Frecka, to discuss how school choice, not school vouchers, which is something we learned is a thing of the past from Miss Colangelo, but these things called ESAs, these educational savings accounts, how those would impact a place like Immanuel Christian School. I'm going to give a little bit of my input as we go back and forth here with Miss Frecka, but today we have Miss Frecka. Miss Frecka, thank you for joining us once again. This is our second or third time on the podcast, depending on when you're listening. But thank you for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
So I'm going to just pose this question really simply to you. I know you've heard the episode. I know you had the chance to meet with Miss Colangelo and as now the head of school of a private school. I'm sure this is something you've kept up with and followed along with. It's something that's going to affect all of us here pretty soon. If this becomes a reality. So where's your head at right now with the whole school choice issue and debate here in the state of Texas?
Yeah, great way to put it. Where's my head at? Honestly, until coming back to the States from Russia, I had no idea what this issue was. It wasn't even on my radar. And so it's something that I've really been learning a lot more about with my involvement with the Texas Private Schools Association and, of course, with Mrs. Colangelo. I think really at the end of the day, to me, school choice is about my right as a parent to use my funds, my resources to choose the best education I believe for my children. As it stands right now, as a resident of El Paso, I pay property taxes, which go into the public school system, which I believe is very important. I do not at all advocate for taking funds from our public school system. But I also feel as a parent that, it would be nice to get some help in educating my children in the way that I feel is right for my family. And I think for a lot of us as parents, that's how we feel about the school choice issue. But we did get news this week that this has been put kind of back on the back burner in legislation. It was passed, the SB 1 bill was passed in the Senate, but it did not get through committee, the HB 1 bill in the House. Mm-hmm. So basically it's kind of tabled for now. Hopefully this will be brought up again. They will continue fighting for it. But the biggest impact that this would have for us as a school is that it would put some of this money back in the pockets of our families so that they could help cover their tuition here, which I know for a lot of our families, it's a huge sacrifice to have their children in Christian education. We are really praying that a time will come when parents can make that choice and they will have the support that they need to be able to have their kids in a Christian school. Obviously, that would impact us greatly financially as a school because, we would have parents would be able to pay more because they would have that supplemented by their education savings accounts. And that would allow us to do a lot to give back to our students, to create new programs, to create new, opportunities for our students to grow and to learn. So of course we would love to see this happen, but it is going to be a fight. And I think, probably Mrs. Colangelo mentioned this, but the greatest misconception in all of this is that we're taking money from the public schools. And that is simply not the reality. And I think we need to understand that we are not against public education. We are not against, families receiving access to free education. We just want to have a choice. Mm-hmm. We want to have a say in the matter. And school choice provides us with the opportunity for even more families to be able to make that choice. So I'm really praying that that the Lord will give us strategies. We'll give the Texas Private Schools Association strategies and strength. We were on a call this morning and they just look tired. This has been such a battle, and I think they're a little discouraged. And so for my part as a head of school of a Christian school, I really want to help get in the fight. I want to be encouraging those that are in Austin, working hard for legislation. I know we had a parent that actually went down there and to just stand in the gallery and give their support. I'd like to see more of that. I'd like to see us getting more involved in this issue and just letting our voices be heard about what an impact this would have on those who do want to choose private education for their kids. But I think it's going to be a battle. I think if this is going to happen, we're probably looking at a couple years down the road. So, I think it's something that we as a school can be praying about, praying for, getting educated on. And then I will be sharing from time to time opportunities for us as a community to send emails, make phone calls, maybe even go to Austin and make our voices heard. So we'll see what's down the road. But I do believe this is something that is incredibly important and something that we need to begin getting educated on and participating in.
I think if anybody had listened to the original interview I did with Ms. Colangelo, she was very optimistic actually going into that interview and going to her time here in El Paso. She had hit up actually several border towns leading up to El Paso and was going to kind of make a loop back to Austin, and she was very optimistic about the chances of this actually becoming a reality. And to hear that it kind of has been tabled for the time being and kind of put on the back burner, I think discouraged is probably a good way to put it for most people that were strong advocates of this. But the fight carries on, and it's just a matter, I think, of getting the word out there, explaining to people that nobody here is anti-public school.
Yeah.
Nobody here is advocating for taking money from public schools. It's something that I asked Ms. Colangelo to dispel once and for all. I was like, say it once and for all for us. You don't hate public schools. And she's like, I absolutely don't hate public schools. I've worked in public schools. She had kids that attended public school, So the misconception that this is somehow going to hurt public schools is a big one. And it's something that organizations like the Texas Private Schools Association is having to combat. And I know you're going to do your part to help dispel those sort of things, and you're going to continue to promote it here in our school community. Private school out here in West Texas is very different than private school in Central and East Texas. Like if we're just being completely honest, you look at what we charge in tuition compared to what gets charged in Dallas and Austin and Fort Worth. There's no contest.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
And I think when people hear private school, you automatically think, well, they got the money for it. They're rich enough for it.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily the case in El Paso. El Paso is a very different demographic. It has very, very, very different people than you would find in East and Central Texas. Some affluent, some not.
Yeah. And
both of those groups are included here at Immanuel Christian School. And when you break it down, something like an educational savings account would be very beneficial for a good number of our families here. And it's all about just giving them the ability to choose private education over public education if that's what they want to do.
Yeah, and I will say nothing breaks my heart more than to see a family leave because they can't afford it. And, we try very hard to provide scholarships, financial aid. We're very blessed by donors that give money specifically for that. But at the end of the day, there are a lot of families who would love to have their kids in a Christian school, but they simply can't afford it. And I think for me, that's the biggest issue here is how do we give those families this opportunity? And this would go a long way in doing that.
Well, thank you, Ms. Frecka. We appreciate you breaking down the school choice debate right now a little bit, just kind of sharing your thoughts on where Immanuel's going to stand on this going forward. I think the future is bright. I think the future is bright. I'm really excited about where this could go if it does pass here in the next couple of years. But in the meantime, we'll keep all these organizations in our prayers, and hopefully that we can push it over the finish line here pretty soon. But Thank you for joining us. This has been another bonus episode of the I'm No Expert podcast discussing school choice with head of school Rachel Frecka.